why are we talking about creating welcoming and inclusive clubs? First of all, there are three main reasons that we know of that indicate why people don't return to netball. The first one is they actually don't feel included. The second one is they've had a bad experience with a coach. And the third one is that it's simply not fun anymore. That's in no particular order. And I've actually just come back from Melbourne last week, where Netball Australia presented some specific research they've had done in retention in netball, and 23% of all of our new players nationally only stay in netball for 1 year. So 23% of our players start netball and only last 1 year. And the research they showed us pretty much says exactly what I've said. Why are they leaving? They don't feel welcome or included. It's not fun anymore. They can't play with their friends, or they've had a negative experience with coaching. So that's why we're here today, to talk about that. The best thing about all of those things is they're controllable, but they're not controllable by us at Netball New South Wales. They're actually controlled about you guys at clubs and associations. So we talk about experience a lot at netball, because experience contributes to people staying in the game, and clubs are the gatekeepers of that experience. So what contributes to a positive experience at netball? It's all of those things. And this is all based on research, not something that we've made up, but it's all based on research around what contributes to a positive experience in community sport, specifically netball. So belonging, health and wellbeing, fun, positive culture, that balance between competition and fun, recognition and support, and coaching. And all of that's just come out in the research that will be released very shortly. We're going to touch on tonight, particularly belonging and welcoming. But of course, what contributes to that is fun, positive culture, and coaching. And we'll touch on those tonight as we go. This quote is in the Play Well strategy, which is part of the Australian Sports Commission strategy around community sport. And I love it, because it actually really summarises why we're here tonight, but it summarises why it's really important to make people feel welcome and included and they belong. So Maria put this together. She's from Welcoming Clubs, and she said, welcome me and I will join, include me and I will stay, make me feel like I belong and I will contribute. So welcome a new player and they will feel like they want to come along and be a part of a club, include them and they will stay, make them and their families feel like they belong, and they will contribute to our sport as they go, become umpires, coaches, etc. So when it comes to welcoming, I know as a former president, and I wish, honestly, I wish I knew half of these things when I was president. There were some years I thought about this. There were other years I was just too busy and I didn't get a chance to think about it. So when was the last time you thought about what you did at a club to make new and returning members feel welcome and valued? There's a couple of ideas here. One of the things I always did, and I would encourage everybody to do, is simply start the year by sending a welcome email. And that should be different if it's somebody new to your club, or if they're a returning player. But get them excited. 2026 season's here. What does it mean to be part of our club? What are we going to do and see? Information they need. And I've actually got some examples of things that could be in that in a second. Other things you can do to make people feel welcome is pair up coaches, pair up seniors and junior teams, get them to know each other. You might have a season launch day where everybody comes along, or a spirit day. So our club, we had a spirit day every year. They still do it. And on that spirit day, there's always a theme, fun games and activities. And it's generally the first time the players get together as a team and meet their coach before they start training. The other thing I would recommend is always finding opportunities for younger players to give you their feedback. And we'll touch on this in a moment more, but Netball New South Wales now has a youth advisory group. We call them the YAG. They're an incredible, brilliant group of young people from across the state with different backgrounds who are telling us how they want to consume netball, how they want to see it, feel it, how they want to be involved, how they want to play. And that's something I'd never thought about when I was at a club, but asking the kids what they want, how are they going, What do they need more of? What are they enjoying and what they're not enjoying? So when it comes to a welcome email, these are the sorts of things you could consider. What is the role of coaches, managers, and volunteers? And we're going to talk a little bit about new people to netball shortly. But new people to netball, and particularly if they're potentially from a multicultural background, may not even know what a volunteer is. So again, I had that discussion with a family who was from a Southeast Asian background when I was president, and that family, that dad in particular, he didn't understand what I meant by a volunteer. And I said, well, I don't get paid to do what I do. And his first response was, well, why do you do it? He couldn't believe that that's what we would do. So explaining what the roles of everybody is, what's your calendar, what all those details are, what are they paying for, what you can support them with, uniform, where do you find it, what do you expect, when do they need to wear it, game and training information and contact details. The other thing I would add here is committee. So introduce them to your committee so they know who to come to and they know what your faces look like and they can come and find you if they need you. So in terms of belonging, belonging can be different for everybody, obviously, depending on their background. So in New South Wales right now, we know 52% of New South Wales residents were either born overseas or their parents were. So that means more than half of us come from a multicultural background. Many of those people would have never been introduced to netball before. So they don't even know when you sign up for netball that you train on a midweek and then you play on a Saturday. They may not know that. 1 in 5 Australians have a disability, and more than half of those people want to play sport, and they want to play sport more. So thinking about belonging, thinking about where those people are coming from, on Play HQ, you can actually see the communities your club represents. So people will indicate often if they have a First Nations background, if they have a disability, if they come from a multicultural background. So I'd encourage you to check that out as well and just see who is in your community. You might be surprised. And then put yourself in the shoes of someone new to netball and think about where they're finding that information, how they find it, and who they come and speak to. And it's just taking that, just a few hours just to think, okay, what could we do better when you put yourself in the shoes of someone brand new. Jordan's putting some links in the chat for a whole heap of resources around this as well. When we send this out, we'll put the resources in the presentation, but as I'm chatting, she's putting some of those links into the chat. All right, Jordan's going to introduce these two amazing young people.
Awesome. So we've got a video here of 2 members of our youth advisory group. So this is something I'm particularly passionate about, being a young person on a committee or having been. I've got a really big passion for youth voices. So I've been lucky enough to be a part of the youth advisory group and have sort of firsthand experience as to what they've been doing. And I can say they're a powerful force for inclusivity, who we can rely on for direct information straight from the source. So a lot of these young adults have come into Netball New South Wales and they've brought really wonderful ideas firsthand from their personal experiences. We've been able to sort of come up with workshops and formats and alternative ideas. Oh,
sorry,
kicking off. That's right. Alternative ideas that really benefit these guys as spokespeople for other young people in netball. So we'll kick off with the video. That's right. Awesome. So Alex and Davina bring up some really relevant points there. And it links directly back to Trisha's point that we wouldn't know about these things unless we asked, right? So we asked these guys sort of, have you experienced challenges? And it's hard to know coming from personal experience being involved in the netball community from so young. We don't know what people know, right? So you've got to ask. And Alex and Davina have had some really interesting obstacles. Like Alex, he didn't even know about the pathway. It took him a year to even figure out that he could play at a high level, and now he's playing there. And Davina sort of turning up alone and feeling scared because there's not representation there, and there's no one for her to talk to. So some of the key points that they brought up on how to counter these issues is just ensuring that your club's visible in the community. So putting it out there, promoting, which I'll talk to a little bit later, and then being openly welcoming. So Davina literally said all it takes is going up to her and saying, hey, welcome, come and join us. So it's things as simple as that. So I'd like to leave you with just a question on how your club can promote its community to people who aren't already connected, and how can you ensure that those new players that have seen this promotion feel confident enough to take that first step to join up?
Yeah, great. Thanks, Jordan. So that's something we would encourage you to think about as we go along, and there's going to be opportunities very shortly for you to drop some notes in the chat or share if you would like. You're more than welcome. The other thing I would add there about what Davina said, especially about her experience at grading, Jordan was right. It only took one child to come up and make her feel welcome. She didn't mention, and I don't know if this didn't happen because we didn't ask her, she didn't mention how the club made her feel welcome at grading. And I'm not sure if any of you were on the grading call that we did a couple of weeks ago. If you weren't, the video is on our website, and I'd encourage you to have a look at, because grading is a whole scary thing for people brand new to netball. And we talked about how to make that grading experience a little bit more comfortable and a little bit more welcoming. So this is your chance just to have a think about and drop in the chat your thoughts on what Jordan said. If you know what barriers new families might face when joining or participating in netball. And also the last few times we've done these calls, we've actually learned a lot from clubs who are already doing some amazing things in this space. So if you're doing something already that you want to share, I'd love for you to share that, because other clubs or associations might learn from that. So I'll give you a couple of minutes just to think about it, and then pop some things in the chat and we can chat about it. Don't know if my internet's slow or you're just all very quiet. I thought about last time, we need some music at these times. Thanks, Shanti. Filling out experience or not having netball general knowledge. That's a really good one. And it actually came up in the grading chat. So if you're new to netball, you potentially don't know what grading is. You don't understand what that is, what that means. We assume a lot at netball, and we'll talk about that soon. Yep, Lucy, completely agree around the active kids vouchers. That's made a huge difference to some families. I know a lot of clubs, I know our club, we were lucky enough to have a small bit of money aside every year to support families who may not be able to afford it with vouchers and things. Yeah, Narelle, that's a really good point. Not being sure about netball or wanting to play on a team. It's something I've been banging on about since I've got here, is we need to talk more about why netball. Why would somebody choose netball over another sport? And in my mind, it's because it's the best team sport, and it really develops girls' confidence and abilities, and boys' leadership skills, etc. So talking, have a think about that on your website. You're talking to the external community, you talk about why netball. And we've got a section on that on our website now, which is really exciting. Okay, we'll keep going. So we're going to talk a little bit now about multicultural communities. So seeing where some of you are from, I suspect a lot of you will have multicultural communities in your background, in your backyard. So we're going to touch on some resources and some things to think about when it comes to multicultural communities. First of all, these are 2 resources in the toolkit on the Netball New South Wales website. I'm not sure, every time we speak to clubs and I say, does anyone know about the Beyond the Court section on the website? It's probably about 50-50 as to who knows it's there. But there is a huge resource library on the website called Beyond the Court. And this is under inclusion, this section, and Jordan's going to keep putting links in the chat, but like we said, we'll send them out to you. But yeah, here's 2 resources that are already in there about how you engage your current community plus external community. Another thing we would really encourage you to do is look at your current events that you run and think about how you could make them more welcoming to your community. So if you know that you have a large Indian community, for example, within your netball club, and you know this because you see them, you talk to them, you can see it on Play HQ, definitely ask them and talk to them about what they would like to do when it comes to events, what they like to be involved in. I remember some of our teams spoke to a lady who was really unhappy at a club or an association in Western Sydney, and she was from either Indian or Sri Lankan, Southeast Asian, and her comment was, we just don't like barbecues or trivia. But nobody had asked her about what other types of fundraising events they might like to be involved in. But what you're already doing, you could easily add a cultural element. So you could have a multicultural day, you could have multicultural food nights at training. If you're doing a crazy hair and sock day, you could add a cultural event to that. So just thinking about how you make it more inclusive, those events, or how you could come up with a new event that recognises that everybody comes from a different background. I'm not sure how many of you would have members of the Muslim community in your backyard, but potentially there would be quite a few. It's Ramadan right now. Again, a lot of people wouldn't know or understand the impact of Ramadan on young athletes or any athlete really, in terms because they're not eating between sunrise and sunset. So obviously that's going to impact them playing or training. So there is an information fact sheet on the Netball New South Wales website. And also in the chat is a link to an amazing video that explains what Ramadan is, why it's important to the Muslim community. But the main thing we want to focus is on being aware, if you do have people from the Muslim community within your club, being respectful of the fact that it's Ramadan. You could even post at the end of Ramadan a happy Eid day, and recognize them that way. Make them feel like you've recognized that they're a part of your community and understand what Ramadan means for them. All right, Jordan's going to talk about some of the materials that we've got around the place.
Awesome, thanks Trish. And just something I'd like to point out there, Trish touched on it as well, is that it's important to understand who is in your community, and you can just do that through Play HQ. So you can generate a report, and you can see if people have selected a diverse background, and you can sort of get in there and see what backgrounds people are from, so you have some sort of understanding. That information is not hidden, it's just through your reports. So always happy to help out if you need some support in getting to those reports. So clear communication is probably one of the simplest and most powerful ways that a club can be inclusive and welcoming. I know firsthand that I'm not going to want to click on a link or register if I don't know what I'm registering to. And Australia, as we know it, is becoming increasingly multicultural, hence more families have differing first languages. So netball as a sport is all about key information. So that's our dates, our times, uniforms, training, or even our club values. And if these are all in English, we may be unintentionally creating a barrier for multicultural participants. So That's why we provide translated material. So it's a wonderful way for your club to show that you're actively inviting diverse communities, and that it's a safe space for people of all backgrounds. So even actions as simple as translating a Join Now flyer or just a post on social media can make a pretty significant impact. So when participants know how to join, when they can read it in their own language and they know what to expect, who to contact, they'll be much more confident in taking that first step. I'll pop some resources into the chat. That'll include a translator, and then also some information to a section on our website that has existing translated materials, just what is netball. So that'd be great to include on your club website. So people with differing first languages can have a look at them and feel sort of welcomed and invited. If you want to jump to the next slide, we'll jump on to our website.
Don't forget Nettie.
Oh, yes, Nettie, sorry. Our wonderful little Nettie there in the corner. So Nettie's a new addition to our website. That happened a couple months ago. So Nettie's a little AI that you can click on the website and ask her any questions, and she'll take you to the relevant spots on the website. But a really exciting feature of Nettie is that she can talk in different languages. So we've tested it out. Type up into Nettie different languages, different questions, and it will take you to the relevant spot on the website. So that's a great resource to provide, to link to on your website, or to notify participants that that's there and existing, so that they can use that and navigate our website easily and in their own language. Awesome. So on websites, club website. So they're often the participants' first impression, yes, and for many families as well. And it's where they'll decide if they are confident enough to reach out or to register. So again, we want clear and instructive home pages. So they should be easy to navigate with simple headings like how to join, programs, or contact us. There also needs to be clear explanation. So for participants coming into netball who've never played before, they don't know what winter season is. So just a simple sentence that you play on a Saturday from this date to this date. Just keeping it super concise and simple is really helpful here. You should also include what options are available. Like what Alex said earlier, is he had no idea how to join male netball, and he didn't know that it was actually a thing. So just include that information in there. It can be simple. It doesn't need to look incredible. Just clear and simple information. Now, images also matter. So when your website reflects diversity in culture, age, gender, and ability, it sends a really strong message about who belongs at your club. And people are far more likely to engage when they see themselves represented. So make use of those photos. And if you don't have any, take some. I know that's my job at my club. I've got to get out onto the ground and take as many photos as I can. And then we upload them to our website just to show what we're about and that we're inclusive to all. Practical details are also important. So that's just your straightforward sign-up instructions, key dates, and frequently asked questions, as well as clear contact information so families know who to speak to, and that will remove sort of uncertainty barriers. So just to summarize, a website, it's not going to be perfect, doesn't need to be complex, it doesn't need to be particularly pretty. It's just about being clear, welcoming, and intentional with the information that you are providing.
Yep, great, thank you. Another way to ensure everybody feels welcome and included is having a flexible uniform and a flexible uniform policy, which Netball New South Wales does. And we've seen lots of clubs and associations take this up, which is amazing. So that's having options for kids, boys and girls, to play wearing whatever they feel comfortable in, that all marries your uniform. So if you don't have any information about that, the links will be in the chat. But I know at our club, when we offered that, we had a whole heap more seniors come back to netball saying, oh, thank goodness I didn't want to wear that dress, but I'm more than happy to wear the tights and the top. So it does make people feel just more comfortable and more welcome. So definitely encourage you to look into that. Some other ideas to showcase and celebrate cultures is having multicultural music during training. There's some playlists there that are lots of fun that some of the younger people in the office put together. not me. And looking at traditional games. So there's an awesome resource, I don't know if you found, that's got some traditional Indigenous games that are actually linked to netball. And again, that's going to be in the chat, but it's a great way, especially if you've got First Nations community in your club, just to say, hey, we see you, we recognise you, we want to play these games, and everybody can learn it and have a great time. It's really good to know and play. All right, so moving on to positive culture. Positive culture can really, really set the tone for your club and make everybody feel welcome and included. So if you haven't already, think about your club values. Do you have them? If not, think about how you engage people in determining them. So my club was gazelles, or is gazelles. Gazelle is obviously an animal. We came up with the gazelles in Arabic is actually swift, graceful, and beautiful. After a lot of stakeholder engagement, we landed on swift, graceful, and strong as the gazelles' values, and they still use them today. And I haven't been president for 7 years, so which is fantastic. And everybody knows what that means. It clearly says on their website how to live by those values. Everybody was engaged in how we use them. But when you've got them, you make sure that you communicate them, you live by them. It gives a really good leveler for committee to go, okay, if we've got to make a decision, does this reflect our values? So I would definitely encourage you to do that if you haven't already. When it comes to positive culture, it 100% starts at the top. You need to lead by example. Make sure your committee's connected and working together. I always tell associations and clubs that your committee is just like a team. So a connected team is a winning team. So a connected committee is a winning committee. So make sure you're able to work together. You understand why you're there. You get to know each other. You socialise. You connect, and really respect everybody's roles. Take the time to engage and build relationships, and that can be as simple as if you've got a new family and you see them at training for the first time, just going up and saying hi, seeing them on a Saturday. If you're an association executive, coming out of the clubhouse and just walking around and saying hi on a Saturday. Really take that time to build and engage those relationships, and then you'll get to know the families, you'll get to know their backgrounds, where they're from, what they're enjoying about netball, and what we might be able to improve. When it comes to positive role models, that's making sure we showcase inclusivity. You can't be what you can't see. So does your club or committee reflect your community? Are you taking the time to engage with the kids, and can they see that you're listening? If you have a large, specific, different multicultural community, have you been able to manage to get one of those members of that community to be on your committee? There's a whole other session we've done on volunteer framework, and we touch on that. I think we did that about a month ago, 6 weeks ago. So that's on the website as well. And lastly, which is really difficult, I know, but create that positive sideline culture within your club. The behaviour you walk past is the behaviour you tolerate. So if you see somebody that's not acting within the values of your club, just quietly try and pull them aside and have a chat to them, but encourage and recognise that positive sideline culture. So encourage everybody to cheer teams on when they're doing that, when you see them being great sports, recognise it, say, hey, that was awesome. I loved seeing that. I loved seeing you sit on the bench and support your team. If there was a group of parents that, you know, were clapping when the other team scored, recognise it, just let them know, but really try and create that positive sideline culture within your club, and everybody will feel that a lot more welcome and a lot more part of it. All right, so getting towards the end, coaching. I 100% believe coaching plays a huge role in a positive experience and making kids feel more welcome and more included, as you saw in the research, and it's come out more in the Netball Australia research that I saw last week. Coaches really impact how kids in particular feel like they are part of a netball club or a netball team. So if you don't know about the Netty Way, it is a coaching resource that is on our website. It's built for brand new coaches. It literally tells them how to create connections within teams, gives them ideas. It gives them 8 weeks of training. And it's before, you can do this before you do a foundation coaching course. So making sure everybody's included in all skills, You don't want a skills activity where 6 people are involved and 2 people are out the whole time, making sure everybody's feeling they're involved. Having also with the Netty Way, there's a video about what it's about. Jo Harton delivered a session last time around coaching the Netty Way. So that is not up on our website because she had to record it. She had a lot of issues with the videos, but she's done that and it got sent to our marketing team yesterday. So it should be on the website very soon. The key thing with making kids feel welcome and included within a team is having coaches plan to create that connection and a sense of belonging. So check in with them. Have they thought about that? How do they do that? Are they having a pizza night before? Are they having dress up nights at training? One of the ladies in our team, her daughter played netball for the first time last year. She was 7, and their very first night, they all went dressed as fairies. And she came away the next time. She goes, I have no idea what netball they did, what they learned, but they were dressed as fairies. They had the best time ever, and she can't wait to go back. That's what it's all about. So to do that, where you can, support and mentor your coaches, especially the young ones coming through. A lot of the kids, my daughter, when she first started coaching, she'd been playing junior reps and she thought she knew everything about netball. I'll never forget, she was coaching under 10 Ds. Most of them had never played before, and she was standing on the sideline yelling at them, you need to drive onto the ball. And they were coming off and looking at her going, what? And eventually one of them said, what are we driving in? And she goes, what do you mean? They're like, are we going in a car or a bus? And they just had absolutely no idea what she was talking about. And luckily I was standing alongside her and could help her try and break down that information. So just try and have senior coaches pop in and check out on your younger coaches, make them feel that they're part of a coaching team, but also make sure they're making their team feel connected. That's a lot of work. It's a whole other session, but it's so important when it comes to making kids feel welcome and included at netball. Shameless plug. This is one way to make your teams and your club feel welcome and included. Start the season with a bang and come to the double header in a few weeks. There is a 15% discount for groups. The link's there to grab your tickets. It'll be in the chat. But we are trying to break the record for netball in Australia. We can beat the grand final record last year if we pack out Kudos Arena. So we're really hoping everyone gets along. But what an awesome way to start as a club, encourage everyone to come together. You can grab something to eat before you come in and watch the Giants and the Swifts for one price. Okay, so a few key takeaways. I really want you to go away from this remembering that players leave netball because they don't feel welcome and included, but we can control that, and hopefully we've given you lots of ideas. Another one would be just don't assume. Don't assume people. Everybody in netball knows netball. I am guilty of this all the time. I grew up in netball. Jordan grew up in netball. So we use language. We assume people know that a club is part of an association. They don't. We assume people know what grading is. They don't. We assume people know that when you sign up to netball, you generally go to training and you play a game on a Saturday. And sometimes that's in 2 different places. They might not. So just really think about what you're communicating and how you're communicating it. And I'd love you to think, before you leave or as soon as we leave this call tonight, what's 2 or 3 things that's jogged your thoughts while we've been going through this that could welcome new families, might be thinking of multicultural participants, creating that positive culture or coaching and team culture. So make sure we leave tonight with some ideas, practical ideas and things that you can put into place. You don't have to change the world. I suspect a lot of you are already passionate about this, and that's why you're on this call, and I'm grateful for that, and thank you. And I really hope you did learn a few things. And then lastly, I'm not sure if many of you would know, but we have 2 inclusion leads at Netball New South Wales. Varney on the right was supposed to run this call today, but unfortunately she was sick. So Jordan and I have stepped in. We were going to be here anyway to support her, but Varney put together a lot of this. So Varney's on the right, Achol is on the left. Achol is Sudanese background. Vani in Fijian Indian. Neither of the girls had ever played netball before. They really didn't know what netball is. Their job is to help clubs and associations engage with their community, create connections, create those resources. Achol is working on a Harmony Day event in next week after at Netball New South Wales, where she's got nearly 500 kids coming to Netball Central, who are all from newly arrived migrants who most of them don't know what netball is. So they're coming in, celebrating culture and playing netball for the first time at Netball Central. So that's the kind of events that they do. So I'd very much encourage you, if you've got thoughts, questions, comments, and you need some help, that you can reach out to them. So that was it from us. Did anyone have any questions, comments, thoughts before we headed off? I hope that you got something out of tonight. We will obviously, we've recorded it and we'll put it on the website. Encourage you to share it with your executives, other clubs, if you know them. Let them know. So yeah, thanks, Lucy. That's lovely.
I think Joanne's pointed out that she used Netty, so I'd encourage you all to have a go and just see how that works. But in Welsh, which I have Welsh heritage as well, and I know just how complicated the language is, so that's a really great sign. Yeah, you've got a response, a perfect response, which is wonderful. And I just love to add, if that's okay, Trish.
Yeah, of course.
That when we're talking about inclusivity and being welcoming, don't be afraid to go up and talk to people, right? So no one's going to feel intimidated or horrible if you ask them to just talk about their culture and you just seem, interested. So don't be afraid to go and ask the question. I myself, as a coaching coordinator for a few years in a high multicultural community, I was afraid. And as soon as I spoke about it openly and approached people and just asked the question about what do you think, I can do for you, it opened up some doors for me. So just don't be afraid. You guys are the people who are on the ground that are going to be able to ask those questions. So be brave, and good things will happen from it.
I love that. Yeah, that's great. And the people who are from those communities in your community already, just as Jordan said, if you are brave enough to ask them how they found out about netball, what they love about netball, and they could be your biggest advocates in their community to get more of those people to come along and join netball, which is what we all are here for. So yeah. All right. Well, if there's no other questions, we will wrap up. I hope you all have a good rest of the evening. Can't wait to see you all at the doubleheader in a couple of weeks. All right. Thanks, everyone. Thanks, Jordan. That was great. Thanks, Katrina. Yeah, we'll finish the recording and grab it onto the website. Yeah, amazing.